Hey guys, what's up? Back in Virginia City, and I did a travel vlog here last week, and I've come back over here to kind of step out of my photography comfort zone. So this town, at least for me, presents, some challenges with shot compositions. So I've heard shot compositions described as keeping your scene organized, and I do like that wording a lot. It sounds less complicated, and when you really think about it, every element in your scene should have its spot. It should look like it was deliberately placed there. So in this particular town, that's problematic because a lot of these really cool buildings and stuff that you would want to shoot when you're here, they're old and weathered and they look amazing, but they're surrounded by modern tech like power lines and vehicles and that kind of thing. So the other area where I really struggle in this particular town is it's a desert. And deserts are not really my idea of beauty. I'm more of a tropics, forest kind of person. I've always liked the mountains and trees. There's not a whole lot of that here. There are some rolling hills in the background, which I will try to shoot in a little bit, but I think for me, trying to simplify my composition is going to be key. So here's one approach that I'm going to take. I'm going to shoot telephoto. It may cross your mind that if you get up on a hill, and in this particular case, there are hills in which you can stand and you can look down on the entire town. It looks great, but it may cross your mind, well, I'm going to throw a wide angle lens on my camera and I'm going to try to cram all of this stuff into a single scene. And that's probably not, it's just going to end up looking too cluttered. Here's another tool that I'm going to keep in my kit tonight. I actually did a review on this lens. I'll put a link in the description, but this is a C-mount lens. It's a 25mm f1.4. What's cool about this lens is it's a vintage lens. Everything coming out of it looks old, which brings me to my final tip. Take the angle of least resistance. When you're out shooting, it may be that you are used to shooting things that are really colorful. In my case, I'm used to shooting things that are really colorful. I could definitely wait until golden hour and see if we get some color in the sky and see if I can work that into my compositions. But if it's drab, if it's the colors are muted in your scene, consider going black and white. You can process things in black and white and just really focus on contrast, which I find myself doing in deserts quite a bit. The deeper your depth of field, the more in the middle is in focus. The more shallow the depth of field, the more narrow that sliver is of your focus. This lens is unique because not only is it an f1.4, but you're going to get blurring on the X and Y axes as well. So most of the time that's undesirable. Usually if you're looking for a lens, if you're going to drop $1,000 on a lens, you're not going to have blurring on the X and Y axes. But this does give kind of an aged, kind of almost surreal look to your images. I really do like this lens. So I think one of the reasons I'm going to reach for this one tonight is because, as I mentioned, you are going to want to take the angle of least resistance. This town is old. Everything looks aged. Everything looks dated. So it kind of makes sense for me to reach for a lens like this and just kind of run with that idea and run with that whole look.
Touch my skin and left your mark. You know all your words to say.
So before I go into the really challenging things, I just wanted to give you guys a quick tip for shooting in the snow. I found this little area over here that I'm going to take you to in just a moment. I'm going to shoot there's some structures built out there. There's an old school vehicle, a little bit of a canyon, which has some snow drifts on it, and it looks really nice. I think we can get some good shots over there. But first thing that I wanted to recommend when you're shooting in the snow is have a circular polarizer filter, because that will cut down the reflectivity of the snow, which kind of sparkles, especially this time of day. The other thing it will do is as you twist that circular polarizer, you can get it to darken the blues of the sky. And that's going to be really cool for a couple of reasons. It's going to add a lot of contrast between the bright snow and the dark sky. And if you decide to go black and white in post, it'll look really cool. It'll look like your sky is black with this bright white snow. So let's go take a look and see what we get with the circular polarizer. So this is one of the scenes that's a little bit more simplified for Virginia City, and you'll see later when I take you guys downtown. It's a really cool town. The buildings are really cool looking, but they're all really cluttered together. There's a lot going on. It's really busy. It's really hard to kind of find a composition. It's hard to simplify things. So this is kind of cool because we've got the sign that says Virginia City here. We've got the canyon in the background, and we've also got these nice little structures over here that should help us out. So I'm going to get a couple of shots here. So the forecast as of right now says the snow is going to be stopping about an hour from now. So I think in the interest of killing some time, I'm going to be turning the photography gig over to someone else so that my family and I can go around to the other side of the camera. There's this place in town called Old Time Photos. It's really cool. It's right on the main street of Virginia City. And what it is they will give you props, costumes, put you in front of an actual set so that it looks like it's something straight out of the 1800s. So you can wear, the women can wear corsets, the men can wear, sheriff uniforms or whatever. They'll give you props like whiskey and, guns and stuff. But it's kind of cool. Then they actually give you a print and they put it in sepia tone. Now, I would actually take you guys in there and kind of show you around, show you what they do. They don't allow photography or video in there, so I will kind of show you the finished product when we're done. One thing about shooting in the snow is that your saturation goes away. There aren't a whole lot of things with color, especially while it's snowing. You're gonna end up with a lot of muted colors. So one thing that I wanted to do was look for something that's super saturated and that would really stick out. Your image is more or less going to be grayscale, but I found this really cool looking little red house over here. It's got hills right behind it. So really this entire area is devoid of color with the exception of this bright red saturated house. So this will be a cool one to shoot. And you can see these lamps, these cool street lamps that go down the street. They use these incandescent bulbs that are really bright orange yellow. They're going to look really cool against the blue, cold look of the final rendered image. So I think I'm going to have to come back here tonight and get a shot of this one. It is crazy how much it is snowing this trip. Let's see if we can break off. That might help. This is really something else. Not that I don't like the snow. I do. I love the snow. But while it's snowing, that's not really going to help us with our photography situation. So in the interest of killing a little bit of time here, nothing feels nicer after a long day of photography, hiking around in the woods and looking for shots than just getting a nice massage. And pro tip, by the way, if you're ever visiting Virginia City, it's very weather dependent in this town. A lot of the businesses here will have on their front window, we open at 9 until we close, meaning they don't really have a set time to close. They just kind of go by the crowds. If the crowds aren't here, they simply close. So if you are here in the winter when the majority of the businesses are actually just closing up shop for the day early, you can still get a massage. There's a masseuse in town. And she's just kind of appointment only. You can give her a call. She'll hook you up. So I called this masseuse the other day to set an appointment. The lady answers and she says, "Oh, I'm actually retired now." So she'd just given up her business. This was a few weeks ago. But she said, there's actually a new massage therapist in town named Julie Breitenback who is attempting to grow her business. So I gave Julie a call, really professional massage therapist. She's just getting started. She took me in on pretty short notice. I'll take you up to where Julie's office is located. So you guys, if you're ever in town and you want to get a massage, you'll recognize the building. You can't miss it. Anyway, I'm going to put a link to her information in the description box below. She's got a website. If you're ever in Virginia City, like I said, she's reasonably priced. Can't beat it. What I've been focusing on as far as photography is concerned this time around is interior shots. Like I said, the interiors of these buildings are pretty impressive. And the same tips apply, everything that I've been talking about in this video is just go for simplification. Get in tight with a telephoto lens, look for patterns, look for shapes. I mean, we were in this saloon last night that had this really cool metal paneling on the wall and some really cool lighting fixtures that were in there. So I just went around, played around with some different compositions, and I got a couple of contenders that I wouldn't mind sharing online. Maybe not anything I would get printed on metal and hang in my living room, but still, there were some pretty decent shots to be had in there. All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope this video comes in handy when your travels take you to places that might be a little bland on the color side of things, or might just be really busy. Busy meaning your compositions look complicated. They look, convoluted. There's just too many elements in your scene. So to recap, we covered using a circular polarizer to shoot in the snow. That'll cut down on the reflectivity, and if you have blue skies, it'll darken them, which will give you some tonal contrast between your sky and the snow-covered ground. The other tip that we shared, take the angle of least resistance. And I know that's a concept that even back when my channel was the Edit Bay, I used to mention quite a bit. Don't force things. You know, this town right now is almost devoid of color. A lot of my compositions, I think I'm just gonna run with and go black and white, or at least have a more muted color scheme when I, Photoshop and color grade these images. And another tip, don't necessarily shoot the content that you intended on shooting. What I mean by that is, again, in this Virginia city, it's very old. It's so cool to look at the architecture and just how dated everything looks here. But for me last night when I was just hanging out in the saloons, it was actually easier to just go for shapes, go for patterns. I was in so tight, they almost look abstract. You can't really tell what I'm actually shooting, but they look cool. You know, you can still practice your photography composition skills and just go to town. All right, thanks again, you guys. I really appreciate you tuning into this video. For those of you who have subscribed, thank you. If you're new to this channel, I cover a lot of travel photography and videography tips, and usually when I go places, I will also give you some tips and tricks on some of the local businesses and some of the things that you can do at that particular location. So I appreciate you lightly tapping that subscribe button, gently pressing that bell so you're notified whenever I upload content. Until next time, happy travels.